Shalom, all praise to Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shah, Bashim Kakadash, double honors to the elders of Great Millstone. This is Iraq, chapter 29, and it's basically going into, the law of lending, or borrowing, or giving. Alright, it's Iraq 29 and 1. I'm going to pretty much read the whole chapter, and get any precepts I have written down in my apocrypha. Alright, verse 1. He that is merciful will lend unto his neighbor, and he that strengtheneth his hand keepeth the commandments. Lend to thy neighbor in time of his need, and pay thou thy neighbor again in due season. All right. So if somebody were to lend to somebody, that person has to pay them back. All right. Keep thy word and deal faithfully with him, and thou shalt always find the thing that is necessary for thee. So you don't want to defraud your neighbor. All right. You want to deal faithfully with them. You don't want to say, "Oh, I will pay you back," and then you don't do it. All right. And this chapter is gonna go deeper into it. Many, when a thing was lent them, reckon it to be found, and put them to trouble that helped them. Till he hath received, he will kiss a man's hand and pay for his neighbor's money. He will speak submissively, but when he shall repay, he will prolong the time and return words of grief and complain of the time. So you know how you might lend to somebody, and they be like, "Oh yeah, I'll pay you back such and such this time," and then you like, okay, you're not really bugging them about it, but it may be that time where you need it. So you're like, okay, hey, remember you said you're gonna pay me back, and then the person start complaining to you like, "Oh no, I need more time." It just prolonged the time. They don't pay you back when they said they will, and they also. I'm gonna grab a scripture on them speaking submissively. All right, Proverbs chapter 13, because we gotta be aware of these things. Proverbs 13 and 7. It says, "There is that maketh himself rich, yet hath nothing. There is that maketh himself poor, yet hath great riches." All right, so in other words, it's somebody that can pretend that they're rich, but they don't really have it. They don't really have money. They act like they're a person that have money. And then there's a person that acts like they're poor, yet they have, riches, so-called riches. They have the money or whatever they, pretend they don't have. They actually have it. All right. So you want to, beware of things like that. It's people that would, speak submissively to get what they want whole time. They don't really need it. They just being greedy and they trying to, get off on you. Where am I at? Verse 6 says, "If he prevail, he shall hardly receive the half. He will count as if he had found it. If not, he hath deprived him of his money. He hath gotten him an enemy without cause. He paid him with curses and railings, and for honor he will pay him disgrace." So now this person basically, acting as if they're the victim. All right, verse 7. "Many therefore hath refused to lend for other men's ill dealing, fearing to be defrauded." All right, and that's playing upon tables, but that's speaking of, a person may have gone through this bad experience and now they don't, want to lend to anybody else because of that situation, because somebody defrauded them. Verse 8. "Yet have thou patience with a man in poor estate, and delay not to show him mercy. Help the poor for the commandment's sake, and turn him not away because of his poverty. Lose thy money for thy brother and thy friend, and let it not rust under a stone to be lost." So you don't want to just, be saving up money and your brother need it. You have a sincere brother that needs it. You want to give to that brother, help him out, do those alms. "Lay up thy treasure according to the commandments of the Most High, and it shall bring thee more profit than gold." showed up alms in thy storehouses, and it shall deliver thee from all affliction. So Khan, you want to give alms. And if you take those so-called treasures that you do have and you're using them in the way the Lord wants you to use it, it's going to bring you more profit than gold. All right. Verse 13, it shall fight for thee against thy enemies, better than a mighty shield and strong spear. And that one scripture, I think it's in Sirach, but it says, it might be in Sirach or Tobit. Let me see. I don't remember where it said. Tobit chapter 4. I'll just start at 7. Give alms of thy substance, and when thou givest alms, let not thy eye be envious, neither turn thy face from any poor, and the face of Yahweh shall not be turned away from thee. If thou hast abundance, give alms accordingly. If thou have but a little, be not afraid to give according to that little. For thou layest up a good treasure for thyself against the day of necessity. All right. So the Lord knows the perfect time to repay you for something, whether it's evil or whether it's a righteous thing. Okay, the Lord, He has perfect timing with everything. Verse 10 says, because that alms do deliver from death, and suffer not to come into darkness. For alms is a good gift unto all that give it in the sight of the Most High. Verse 14, an honest man is surety for his neighbor, but he that is impudent will forsake him. Forget not the friendship of thy surety, for he hath given his life for thee. A sinner will overthrow the good state of his surety, and he that is of an unthankful mind will leave him in danger that deliver him. All right, and I think I have a precept for that. I have Sirach chapter 32 and verse 8. I think Salakia, no, that's the wrong precept. 37 and verse 8. Okay, it says, beware of a counselor and know before what need he had, for he will counsel for himself, unless he cast the lot upon thee, and say unto thee, thy way is good, and afterward he shall stand on the other side to see what shall befall thee. All right. Psalms chapter 37, verse 21. The wicked borroweth and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. All right, it goes into Esau, but that's in general too. You wicked if you borrow and don't pay back again, man. That's a wicked act. All right. Esau does that. He defrauds people, but anybody can do that. That's a wicked act. Just not being a man of your word, no integrity. Sirach 29, and where am I at? 18. Suretyship hath undone many of good estate, and shaken them as a wave of the sea. Mighty men hath it driven from their houses, so that they wander among strange nations. A wicked man transgressing the commandments of the Lord shall fall into suretyship. And he that undertaketh and followeth other men's business for gain shall fall into suits. Help thy neighbor according to thy power, and beware that thou thyself fall not into the same. So like, all right, so if you're in a situation where you can help somebody, do it, but beware of your own situation first, so you both don't be in the same situation, because what profit is that? All right, you know, and we have to look out for our household first, okay? Verse 21: the chief thing for life is water and bread and clothing, and a house to cover shame. Better is the life of a poor man in a mean cottage than delicate fare in another man's house. Be it little or much, hold thee contented that thou hear not the reproach of thy house. For it is a miserable life to go from house to house. For where thou art a stranger, thou darest not open thy mouth. Thou shalt entertain and feast and have no thanks. Moreover, thou shalt hear bitter words. And I'm gonna grab Sirach 40 and 28. It's Sirach chapter 40 and 28. My son, lead not a beggar's life, for better is it to die than to beg. The life of him that dependeth on another man's table is not to be counted for a life, for he polluted himself with other men's meat. But a wise man will beware thereof. All right. You're supposed to work and take care of your household, man. You're not supposed to depend on somebody else's. You're not supposed to depend on somebody else's table. You're supposed to provide for your own. Sirach 29, it's 26. Come, thou stranger, and furnish a table, and feed me of that thou hast ready. Give place, thou stranger, to an honorable man. My brother cometh to be lodged, and I have need of my house. These things are grievous to a man of understanding. The upbraiding of house room and reproaching of the lender. Salakia. All right, so that's Sirach chapter 29. And I grabbed all the precepts I had. So I'm gonna close out with that, giving all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahushua again. Shalom.